Steve Burton, Director of Stranding and Assessment at Harbor Branch Oceanographic University. Boy, I finally got to where I can say that in one breath, Steve.
Good morning, Bob. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
We try to touch base with you once every few months or so, and so it's time and do a little catch up on what's been happening out in the Sea World.
Yeah, so I always like catching up with you every quarter or so and tell you about the dolphins and sometimes some stories about whales too in Indian River, St. Lucie, and Martin counties where our team responds to marine mammals.
Well, and then you take a lot of pictures of these dolphins, and you have an interesting story about a couple of them.
Yeah, for those that have listened before, you know that we do marine mammal rescues and strandings, pick up the dead marine mammals, dolphins and whales, that is. And then we do the photo ID in the river and offshore. We photograph the dorsal fins of the dolphins, and that's how we identify them. And a mix of all our job, all in one for a couple stories for today. My photo ID staff, we're all one. We do the whole job. But one of them was looking through our photo ID catalog, and we have over 400 dolphins in our catalog identified by dorsal fins. And she realized that one of the animals was a mama dolphin, nipped, was her name, that was entangled with just a crab pot buoy and rope back in 2014. And back in 2014, our group in SeaWorld and all the marine mammal groups did a NOAA National Marine Fisheries approved rescue and disentangled that mama. And she had a baby at the time, but the baby was just swimming next to her and disentangled her. And happy to give you the news that 11 years later, Nip is still out there making babies and doing great. So that's always good to have good stories about rescues and outcomes of disentangling these marine mammals.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's still a lot of that stuff out there in the ocean, isn't there?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Sometimes the dolphins will play with them and get entangled. Nobody's doing it on purpose. Nobody's trying to get them entangled with fishing line or in crab pots or anything. It's just the dolphins being mischievous, or it's discarded gear. In this case, we don't know how she got entangled in that little buoy, but it was like she was carrying a red balloon around the lagoon. So it was easy for people to call it into us on the hotline 888-404-3922. So we could get out there and see how we could help her.
Well, it's good to hear she's still alive and well. And when you talk about the fins, that's their fingertip, isn't it? Their fingerprint. I mean,
yeah. So that would be the comparison of a human fingerprint. As humans, we identify each of us by our fingerprints, unique. And so on the dolphins, each dorsal fin is unique to them. And my staff is so good that when we're on our boats doing our monthly surveys, they're just yelling out the names. I mean, they're like, hey, that's Flip, that's Snowflake, that's Jax. They're that good when they're working out there. They just get a quick look at the fin and they know who they are. So that's pretty cool. And that leads into Solo's rescue. I believe it was 2012. Solo was a female dolphin that went into a retention back area of Orchid Isle community. Came in at a king tide, swam in there with a few animals, other dolphins, hung around and fished back there. And then when the tide changed, her friends left her. Hence why we named her Solo. And she was back there for about 2 weeks. And because she couldn't get across the flats, which was about 100 yards of going through mangroves to get back out into the Indian River Lagoon, we did a rescue there and had to put her on what we call a Navy mat and walk her out in 1 feet of water. But we got her out there, and again, my photo ID team did a great job of identifying her, and that's 13 years later. So she's out in the river doing great as well. So it's always nice to have see your work end up in a good way, and they're still out there alive and kicking, if you know what I mean.
What is the general health of the dolphins you see out there? Is it pretty good? Or?
Right now, it seems to be stable. Obviously, we would love the lagoon to have more seagrass so that there's more fish. But they seem to be at a stable number right now. They do have different issues, some lesions and stuff on that, environmental stressors and all that. But overall, at this current time, it's a stable population.
Oh, that's good to hear, too. Now, there's a couple of whales that had a bit of an adventure here at the start of the year. Huh?
Yeah, for those that know or don't know, Florida does get, we do have year-round whales. That's your sperm whales and pilot whales. They're here in Florida year-round. But in the wintertime, usually December through March, we get two migrating whales coming by. One is humpback whales, and we had quite a lot of sightings off Vero this year of humpback whales hanging off the coast. And then we had two North Atlantic right whales pass by Vero in January. And in their catalog, which is housed at the New England Aquarium, they hold the catalog for ID right whales. These two females were about 15 and 13 years old, and they passed through Florida, passed through Jupiter, passed through Miami, and went all the way around the Keys into the Gulf. And by February, late February, they were over in Alabama, believe it or not. Very rare for North Atlantic right whales to travel around the Keys. Usually they come down to Georgia, Florida, have babies, mill around for a couple months while they nurse their young, and then they head back up to the North Atlantic in Canada. But these two females decided to go into the Gulf for a few months. Then FWC was tracking them, making sure that boaters knew that they were in that area. Right whales don't have dorsal fins, so they kind of look like a giant speed bump out there. They're hard to see when you're boating. And around late April, they started moving down the west coast of Florida and ended up showing up in the Bahamas. So they did make it around, and then they disappeared for a while, and then in May, they showed up in Canada. So they had a great winter, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like it, yeah.
So they're up in the feeding grounds in Canada. No babies for those two, so maybe next year. North Atlantic right whales are endangered. There's only 350 of them left in the wild, so we do need every baby to help that population out. But at least these two had a great winter, avoided boat traffic, and are back in their feeding grounds.
All right. Well, Steve, I sure appreciate the update. It's great to talk to you about it. And like I say, we try to do it once a quarter, and there's plenty to talk about when we do. So I guess people can just go to Harbor Branch, the website there. They can find out more information about what you guys do, huh?
They sure can, and then Harbor Branch has a Facebook page, FAU Harbor Branch. We try to post stuff on there. They have a newsletter. We do a Fin of the Month, so if you'd like to know who the dolphins are in the river, we do have a Fin of the Month that we show up there and give you a little bio on that animal.
All right. Well, Steve, thanks again for being on the show. We'll talk to you again in a few months.
Sounds great. Have a great day, Bob. Have a great summer.
You too. Steve Burton, Director of Strategy and Assessment for Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute.